Hello everyone, I'm the one and only Having himself, and today I'm talking about games. Specifically, we're talking about Marvel Heroes and Diablo 3. Two games that are very similar in the way that they were really shitty when they first came out, but now are pretty dang good. And I think they both show a very important thing in game design today. Since everyone, well, most everyone has the internet and has decent internet. In America, we have pretty bad internet, but at least we can download stuff. Usually it takes all night, but at least we get stuff done. Anyway, since everyone has internet, something that has become prevalent in gaming is the act of the tendency to release a game and then try to fix it later. Bethesda does this all the time with their RPGs, like Skyrim and Fallout, and where they have these open worlds and it would take forever to bug test them, so they usually don't bug test them as well, and they release the games in a really buggy state and then basically let the players bug test them. The only reason they can get away with this is because you can update games afterward. But with Marvel Heroes and Diablo 3, they both had really, really bad launches, which is kind of a common thing with big games today. Both had really slow gameplay and really not much endgame. Diablo 3 you just went through the story. There was nothing really to do at endgame except play on harder difficulties, which you weren't playing anything new, you were just repeating the same story that you had done on a higher difficulty, with an increased chance to get loot. Although the loot was still pretty few and far between because Diablo 3 also launched with the real money auction house, which was later removed because it kind of ruined the whole game and made it so that legendaries could never drop. Marvel Heroes was similar in that it was different in that it was a free-to-play game. It was similar in that it had a pretty bad launch with kind of slow gameplay. I only played Marvel Heroes a little bit 2 years ago before they have fixed it. Now I started playing it a bit more. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but the first thing I noticed was that they had made the gameplay a lot faster, and they upped the enemy count. That's something they did in Diablo 3 as well. With Reaper of Souls, and when they took out the real money auction house, both games had this happen where they increased the number of enemies, increased the amount of damage you do, and made loot way more common, which is something that I think has become kind of evident for ARPGs like that, where you have to do it that way. Maybe if you added in some other type of skill cap, it'd be kind of interesting for someone to try to make the the Dark Souls of that type of isometric ARPG, where instead of multiple enemies and you just blow them all up and collect loot, it's a few really, really difficult enemies, and you have to actually use telegraphs or skill to dodge them. Well, to dodge these bigger enemies' attacks, that could be a really cool game concept. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic, but both games had an amazing turnaround and have been way more successful since then because of their ability to learn from their mistakes and fix them later, which is the good side of this type of a system where you can go back and update later. Let's get in a little bit to the bad side of the system. AAA developers really like to use this type of system to fix their broken games. They put the game out early and then fix it later. Diablo 3 definitely had this issue because when that game first came out, I bought it a couple of weeks after it came out, I think maybe even a month after it came out, because I saw the issue where you couldn't even get online to play it. So that was one thing that happened that was not so great. And obviously it tends to cause a problem if you can't get online. Like right now, I was gonna go play more Marvel Heroes to kind of get more of an opinion about the game before making this video, but well, I couldn't because the game's down for maintenance right now, which kind of sucks because I don't really play with other people so much. Another great thing that Marvel Heroes did with the always online thing is they made it more like an MMO, which I think is a good idea. Having these open areas in Marvel Heroes to go and interact with people, it lets you make friends in game and possibly find a clan to go run the end game content later on. That's another thing that Marvel Heroes has up on Diablo 3 is it has raid bosses and a lot more stuff to do at endgame. Whereas Diablo, they've kind of funneled us into two different sections. You either just farm Torment 10 or you push Greater Rifts. And Obviously, there's lots of different challenges you can complete for achievements and for the seasonal portraits, but really you're doing the same type of content to do those. There's also Uber bosses to get a Hellfire amulet, but really that's just more grinding for gear. It's still pretty dang fun, but I wish Uber bosses were a little more difficult. Later on in the game, you basically just run right through them. And it'd also be cooler if they were kind of like multi-phase bosses, like in a little more like what's in the story. Maybe make one massive boss instead of a bunch of little ones. But then again, single target damage doesn't really do much in Diablo. Anyway, I just like talking about the similarities and differences between different games of the same genre, and I guess that's what the point of this video is. And the fact that I thought it was an odd coincidence that two decently large... Diablo is a huge game at this point. A lot of people play it. Marvel Heroes, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but it seems to have a pretty big community. Anyway, I just thought that it was interesting that two of these decently large ARPGs had such a similar sort of development early on to now, where it took them both about 2-3 years after they launched to really get their shit together and fix up their games and make them a lot of fun, which is kind of scary when you think about it, that now the trend seems to be that games will be released broken and then fixed later. And I really, like, anyone who was excited and played the game Marvel Heroes or Diablo 3 right out of the gate, like, I played Diablo 3, and even though I love Diablo 2 and played it multiple times, I still go back every once in a while and just play through at least the first act just to kind of relive my childhood. It took 2 years after Diablo 3 came out before I went back and started playing it, because they needed Reaper of Souls to make that game good, and the Loop 2.0, because it was just so boring, I thought anyway. I'm sure there's a lot of people that liked it. And, like, you see games like Assassin's Creed Unity, I think that was last year, right, that came out, and they released that, and it was just an unplayable mess. And it's kind of scary to think that you might pre-order or buy a game and it might just be broken for a little bit. Kind of sucks, but at the same time, it can lead to really huge comebacks like Diablo and Marvel Heroes, where now the games are really, really great. I don't know. Just something to think about. If anyone who sees this wants to leave a comment and give your opinion on, just the whole situation, the trend in games where updates seem to be more important than in-house bug testing, or just in-house testing. They seem to let their players test the game for them and tell them what they want afterward, which, as I mentioned before, can be a good and bad thing. Anyway, I'm going to close this off with that, and thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great day. I will see you in my next video.